Let's be honest. Every man, at least once in his life, has fallen for the wrong woman. The kind who drains his energy, questions his worth, and makes him forget who he used to be. And the worst part? You don't even realize it's happening until you're standing there, confused, angry, and wondering how the woman you once adored turned into the biggest source of your pain. This isn't about hating women. This is about recognizing patterns, the kind that can quietly destroy a man's confidence, his focus, and even his sense of self-respect. Because here's a truth few men ever hear. A low-value woman doesn't always reveal herself through drama or chaos. Sometimes she shows it through quiet manipulation. She doesn't always yell. Sometimes she simply makes you doubt yourself. I've seen strong men fall, leaders, dreamers, men with potential, not because they were weak, but because they didn't understand female psychology deeply enough to see the warning signs early. And by the time they did, it was already too late. So if you've ever felt like you were losing yourself trying to keep her, if you've ever questioned why your peace disappeared the moment she entered your life, then listen carefully, because what you're about to hear could save you years of emotional confusion and regret. Let's start with the first red flag, the one most men ignore because they confuse it with passion. Emotional instability disguised as deep connection. She cries easily, loves intensely, argues passionately, and at first it feels intoxicating, like you finally met someone who feels everything deeply. But soon you realize her emotions are unpredictable. One day, you're her hero. The next, you're her enemy. Her mood becomes your weather, and your peace depends on how she feels that day. That's not love, that's emotional chaos. A high-value woman brings calm. A low-value woman brings storms and calls it love. And the moment you start adjusting your behavior to keep her stable, that's when you start losing yourself. The second red flag comes softly, like a whisper, disrespect masked as honesty. She'll criticize your choices, mock your goals, or make small jabs about your ambitions. She'll say she's just being real, but what she's really doing is testing how much disrespect you'll tolerate. And here's the dangerous part. Once you let it slide, she'll never respect you again. Because a woman can only love a man she respects. The moment she sees you tolerate her disrespect, attraction begins to die. Slowly, silently, permanently. I know that's hard to hear, but every man needs to hear it. Because respect isn't given to you by begging for it. It's earned by what you refuse to accept. And that brings us to a painful truth. Low-value women don't just want attention, they crave control. They feed off your emotional reaction. When you argue, chase, or explain yourself, they win. But when you stay grounded, calm, unbothered, they lose control. Because now they can't manipulate your emotions anymore. Remember this, a woman who truly values you will protect your peace. A woman who doesn't will destroy it just to feel powerful. And if she feels more in control when you're weak, you're already losing the game. In a world full of distractions, where fake love looks real and emotional chaos is called chemistry, the strongest thing a man can do is recognize the difference. There's something you need to understand. Low-value women don't destroy men with knives or words. They destroy them with patterns. They don't take your strength in one blow. They take it slowly, piece by piece, until you forget what being strong even felt like. The third red flag, she plays victim every time you hold her accountable. You point out something disrespectful she did, and instead of owning it, she flips the script. Suddenly, you're the bad guy. You're too harsh. You don't understand her. She'll even bring up something from your past, something you already apologized for, just to make herself look like the wounded one. That's not vulnerability. That's manipulation disguised as emotion. And here's the psychology behind it. When a woman can make you feel guilty for standing up for yourself, she gains emotional control over you. Now you're the one apologizing just to keep the peace. Now she knows that all she has to do is cry, act hurt, or threaten to leave, and you'll fold. That's not love. That's control. And if you ever find yourself explaining basic respect to a grown woman, you're already in the wrong relationship. Let's talk about the fourth red flag, competition energy. This is the woman who doesn't want a partner. She wants a rival. She'll compare herself to you constantly. If you achieve something, she'll act distant or dismissive. If you're confident, she'll try to humble you. If other people admire you, she'll subtly find ways to bring you back down. A high-value woman celebrates her man's success because she feels secure in herself. A low-value woman resents it because your strength reminds her of her weakness, and that's why she'll keep testing you, pushing you, trying to see if she can break your frame. But here's what most men don't realize. She doesn't respect the man she can control. She only respects the man who won't let her. You don't win her respect by giving her everything she wants. You win it by holding your ground when it matters. Now here's the fifth red flag. She lives in constant drama. If peace feels boring to her, if she starts fights out of nowhere, if her life always feels like a storm, that's not passion. That's emotional addiction. Some women are addicted to chaos because calmness feels unfamiliar. And if you stay too long, she'll pull you into her storm and call it love. You'll start walking on eggshells, waiting for her next explosion, apologizing for things that weren't even your fault. And by then, you'll start confusing drama with connection. You'll start believing that love is supposed to hurt, that you just need to try harder, be more patient, give more. But you can't love someone into stability. You can only lose yourself trying. Listen carefully. The most dangerous woman isn't the one who leaves. It's the one who stays, while slowly convincing you that you're never enough. Low-value women feed off your energy. They don't want partnership, they want power. And when they sense you're emotionally invested, they'll test you even harder, just to make sure they can still control the outcome. But remember, peace isn't found in explaining yourself to the wrong woman. It's found in walking away when you know your value. Because a man who knows his worth doesn't chase validation. He attracts respect. Here's something most men don't realize until they've lost everything. A low-value woman doesn't take your strength by demanding it. She takes it by training you to silence your instincts, to doubt yourself, to second-guess what you already know in your gut. And that brings us to the sixth red flag. She punishes you for having boundaries. At first, she'll test you in small ways. She'll ignore your texts and see how fast you chase. She'll flirt with other men just to watch your reaction. She'll disrespect your time, show up late, cancel plans, and wait to see if you'll confront her. And when you finally do, she'll call you controlling or insecure. But that's not the truth. She's not upset because you're controlling. She's upset because she can't control you. A low-value woman hates boundaries because boundaries reveal her manipulation has limits. They remind her that her emotional games don't work on every man, and that terrifies her because once she realizes you can't be emotionally blackmailed, she loses her power. Now, let's go deeper. The seventh red flag. She only values you when she needs something. When she wants attention, comfort, or help, you're her favorite person in the world. But when you need support, suddenly she's distant, cold, unavailable. Her love becomes transactional. It's not about connection, it's about convenience. You'll start to notice it in her patterns. When you're doing well, she's indifferent. When you pull away, she becomes affectionate again. When you give her what she wants, she's sweet. When you stand your ground, she's distant. That's not love. That's a reward-punishment system, a psychological loop designed to keep you chasing approval. And the longer you stay in it, the more addicted you become to her validation. It's like emotional gambling. You keep playing, hoping for the next moment of affection, forgetting that she controls the entire game. But here's the truth, no one tells men. A low-value woman only feels powerful when you're uncertain. Your confusion is her comfort zone, because as long as you're doubting yourself, she's winning. And yet, there's something even deeper than that. Many of these women don't even realize they're doing it. They were raised in chaos, shaped by emotional games, and never learned healthy love. So they repeat the same pain, just with a different name. That's why you can't fix her. You can only recognize her. And walk away before her wounds become yours. Because once you start changing yourself just to keep her calm, you've already lost the man you were meant to be. You stop pursuing your goals. You stop expressing your truth. You shrink quietly, thinking it's what love requires. But love doesn't ask you to lose yourself. It asks you to become more of who you already are. So remember this: a high-value man doesn't chase chaos. He protects his peace like it's sacred, because he knows any woman who truly values him will never make him question his worth. She'll challenge him to grow, not beg him to shrink. She'll build with him, not battle him. She'll respect his boundaries, not punish them. If you feel drained instead of inspired, if you feel small instead of grounded, if you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells just to keep her happy, that's not love. That's your warning. Walk away while you still remember who you are. You've seen the signs, you've felt the drain, and maybe you're sitting here wondering, was I the problem? That's what every good man asks himself after being emotionally twisted by a low-value woman, because that's what her presence does. It makes you doubt your worth until you start believing you were never enough to begin with. But let me tell you something that every strong man needs to hear. You were never weak for loving her. You were just untrained in how to protect your energy. And that's what we fix now. The first step to rebuilding yourself is reclaiming your emotional control. You can't heal while you're still reacting to her. Every text you overanalyze, every argument you replay in your mind, every time you check her social media, you're giving her your power. And the moment you stop feeding that emotional loop, you start starving her control. Here's something few people understand about female psychology. When a woman can no longer control your emotions, she'll try to control your perception. She'll tell others you've changed. She'll act like she's the victim. She'll twist the story so she still looks powerful. But don't defend yourself. Silence is the loudest statement a man can make. Because while she's explaining herself to everyone, you'll be rebuilding your life. And that leads to the second step: reconnecting with your mission. Low-value women distract men from their purpose. They create drama to keep you from focusing on what matters: your growth, your goals, your peace. But here's the truth. The moment you redirect that energy back into yourself, everything changes. You'll notice you start walking differently, speaking differently. You'll realize you don't crave her attention anymore because you've replaced it with self-respect. A man with direction becomes magnetic. He doesn't chase love, he attracts it, because the same energy that once begged for her approval now builds his empire. And when you rise like that, women feel it, in how you carry yourself, how you speak, and what you no longer tolerate. The third step, and this one's crucial, redefine what value means to you. If you grew up believing that love meant sacrifice, chaos, or fixing broken people, you'll keep attracting pain, so redefine it. Love is not emotional survival. It's alignment. It's peace. It's two people meeting from fullness, not from emptiness. And when you operate from that truth, you'll start spotting red flags instantly, because your peace will reject what your heart once accepted. You'll see her instability not as passion, but as danger. You'll hear her disrespect not as honesty, but as proof she's not for you. You'll recognize that the woman who plays games isn't mysterious, she's immature, and that shift, that's when you evolve from being reactive to selective. You'll stop trying to win over women who drain you, and instead, you'll attract women who match your energy. Calm, grounded, feminine, supportive. Because when a man learns to protect his peace, he naturally starts to attract high-value feminine energy, the kind that builds him, the kind that brings stability, not chaos, the kind that loves his strength instead of competing with it. And once you taste that kind of peace, you'll never go back to begging for attention again. You'll never confuse emotional highs with real love again. You'll realize the most masculine thing a man can do is not conquer a woman, it's master himself. Let's talk about the part that no one dares to say out loud. Men are not just blind to red flags, they are trained to ignore them. From a young age, you were told to be nice, to always listen, to never upset a woman, to make her happy at all costs. And while that sounds noble, it secretly conditions men to trade their self-respect for approval. Society tells you that if you walk away, you're cold. If you say no, you're selfish. If you set standards, you're toxic. But no one tells you that the moment you stop setting boundaries, you stop being respected. And that's where low-value women thrive, in the confusion between kindness and weakness, Because when a man can't tell the difference, he becomes easy to manipulate. Think about it. How many times have you ignored that gut feeling, the one that said, something's off? How many times did you make excuses for her behavior because you didn't want to seem controlling or insecure? That's not love. That's social conditioning. You were raised to believe that patience will fix chaos. But the truth is, patience only rewards manipulation when given to the wrong person. Here's a hard truth. Not every woman who looks good for your life is good for your life. Some are sent as lessons, not partners. And if you don't learn the lesson, the pattern repeats with a new face and the same pain. Low-value women use the very traits that make you a good man, empathy, loyalty, protectiveness, against you. They don't fight your strength, they drain it through guilt. They make you feel like the villain for setting standards. And the more you explain yourself, the more control you give them. That's why you must unlearn the lie that says love means self-sacrifice. Real love respects balance. It's not one person chasing, fixing, or proving. It's two people contributing peace. And when you understand that, you stop romanticizing dysfunction. You stop calling chaos chemistry. You stop mistaking inconsistency for excitement, because you've finally matured beyond emotional addiction. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but what if she changes? Maybe she will, but it's not your job to wait for it. A man's role isn't to rescue a woman from herself, it's to lead himself toward truth, no matter who he has to walk away from. And when you do, something powerful happens. You stop attracting low-value energy. You stop being the emotional punching bag for women who haven't healed. You start drawing in women who mirror your peace, not your pain, because women sense it instantly. A man who knows who he is feels different. He doesn't beg, he doesn't chase, he doesn't explain. He simply sets a standard, and whoever can't meet it removes herself. That's masculine power, quiet, firm, and free. It's not loud, it's not aggressive, it's calm because it's certain. And that's the kind of energy that terrifies low-value women and deeply attracts high-value ones. Because deep down, every feminine woman wants a man she can respect, not one she can manipulate. So stop asking for permission to be strong. Start living like a man who remembers his worth, because the world will only treat you the way you treat yourself. Let me leave you with something most men never hear. You are not hard to love. You were just trying to love women who didn't know what love required. You see, low-value women confuse attention with devotion. They mistake validation for connection. They crave the feeling of being desired, but they fear the responsibility of being loyal. And when you gave her your heart, she didn't break it because you weren't enough. She broke it because she didn't know what to do with something real. But that pain you carry, that disappointment that changed you, it's not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your transformation. Because the truth is, heartbreak can destroy you, or it can forge you. And the men who rise from it, they become untouchable, not bitter, not numb, just wiser, calmer, and sharper. They stop chasing chaos because they finally understand peace is the ultimate power. A strong man isn't the one who can dominate a woman. He's the one who can walk away from one who disrespects him, without anger, without revenge, without noise, just quiet strength, because silence from a man who knows his worth is louder than any argument a low-value woman can start. And when you reach that level, you become magnetic in a way words can't describe. Women feel it. They sense it in your energy. That calm, confident, unshakable presence that doesn't beg to be loved because it already is love. You no longer attract what you desire. You attract what you embody. When you live with discipline, you attract loyalty. When you move with confidence, you attract respect. When you walk with peace, you attract women who protect it. Because high-value women, the kind who are feminine, grounded, nurturing, they don't want a man they can control. They want a man they can trust, a man whose strength brings them calm, not fear. A man who doesn't react to chaos because he's too focused on purpose. That's the secret. The more you evolve, the smaller the old world looks. You stop entertaining manipulation because your soul doesn't have time for it anymore. You start noticing beauty in simplicity, in quiet mornings, in honest conversations, in peace that doesn't need proof. That's when you've made it, when your life no longer needs noise to feel alive. Remember, a man's greatest wealth is peace of mind. And any woman who truly values you will guard that peace like it's her own. Because she knows real feminine energy doesn't compete with masculine power. It complements it. So don't chase women. Chase growth. Chase clarity. Chase becoming the man who can no longer be shaken by the wrong kind of love. Because when you become that man, you'll stop asking, why did she treat me this way? And you'll start saying, thank God she did because it woke me up. You didn't lose her. You lost your tolerance for pain, disguised as love. And that, my friend, is how you rise. Question for you. Which of these red flags have you ignored in your past? And what did it teach you about yourself? Share your truth in the comments below. Your story could wake another man up tonight. If this video spoke to you, give it a like. Subscribe for more raw truths about female psychology and self-mastery, and share this with a man who needs to hear it.